Okay, I've got my bushes in place, and this area looks pretty good for now, so I'm going to leave it as is. And I'm doing that to kind of let you know that you don't have to do everything at once. You don't have to completely finish a scene in one sitting. You know, as this area of my layout matures and grows, as I finish sections that aren't finished yet, I'll probably add more layers like tall grasses, flowers, trees, people, trash, all sorts of stuff to make this area look more realistic. But for now, I'm just going to go with a base coat just to make it look decent, and then I'll come back to it later. So be patient, don't rush it, and do it in layers, and it's hard to mess up. So I'm going to leave this as is and move on to a different section now. For the next step, I'm going to put some ground cover on this sloping rock surface here, and the techniques to put the ground cover here are very similar to what we did up top. I'm going to start by hitting it with my wetting agent first. That's the isopropyl alcohol, and that's just to get the area wet. And then I'll take my blended turf earth blend and just sprinkle it down like that. Just like falling snow. And what you'll get is a nice realistic look, because the ground cover will settle on little outcroppings where in the real world soil and vegetation would gather up. And on steep surfaces like this, it won't adhere to these, it'll just fall right down and you'll still have bare rock on the real steep surfaces. Okay, and next I'm going to put some of the Brennan's Model Railroading fine ground cover on. Just a little bit. I'll do more of this later. And now it's time to hit it with our wetting agent again. And now we're going to take our diluted white glue mixture and just run it down the face of the rock. As it runs down the rock face, it'll carry away some of the ground cover with it. That's okay. It'll actually give it a more realistic look that way. And then of course, just like last time, if you have any glue that's running down into sections that you don't want glue to be running into, just take a paper towel again and just dab those areas up. Like that. Now you could leave it like this, but since we've got some pools of glue here, I'm going to use that to my advantage. And I'm going to drop down some more scenery right onto the wet glue. Here I've got some of the coarse ground cover from Brennan's Model Railroading. And drop a little bit of that on there. And it'll stick right to the glue. Soak it right up. And then something else I do sometimes is, as water runs down this rock face, it'll carry away little bits of rock and sand with it. So using the Brennan's Rock Creek sand, I'll drop little pockets of sand here and there, especially in these little crevices. And it will soak up the glue that's already on there and stay in place just fine. I'm going to go ahead and let the glue dry now. I may come back later and add a few bushes and so forth, but for now I'm going to leave this and move on to a different section. Okay, here we are at the bottom. This is where the rock meets the table, and it's going to be the same story here with just a couple slight modifications. First of all, I don't have to spray the area to get it wet first, because it's a relatively flat area, so the scenery is not going to go anywhere in between the time that I lay it down and when I spray it with the wetting agent. So I'm just going to start with the blended turf earth blend again and just drop it down. And you can lay this down pretty heavily because this is the ground, so you want to cover it up pretty well. And after the earth blend, I'm going to lay down some of the fine Brennan's Model Railroading ground cover, just to darken it down a tad. I'll add some of the coarse ground cover and some of the undergrowth as well. And then also, since I'm on the ground and all this rock is above here, there's probably going to be a lot of sand and stuff like that that's been eroded off the rock face. So I'll take some of the Brennan's Superior Sand, the fine grade, and put it down here towards the bottom. And I'm also going to use some of the coarse Superior sand. And now I'll hit it with the wetting agent, our isopropyl alcohol. And then hit it with some of our diluted white glue. Like that. And you can see I've got some pools of glue here, so I'll take some of my coarse turf conifer and sort of sprinkle that on top of those wet areas. And then I'm going to lay down just a little more of the coarse ground cover. Like that. And I'm going to go ahead and let this dry. All this white glue, that'll dry clear, so don't worry about that. Once it's dry, I may add some bushes, some grasses, some flowers, and other stuff just to enhance it a little bit more. Okay, using the techniques that you just saw me use right here, I've completed this whole scene, and I've even added a couple trees from Woodland Scenics over here. This is where I'm going to stop for right now, because as I said, this side of the layout still has a lot of construction left, but as it becomes more complete, I'll add more layers to this scenery. I'll add more trees, more grasses, animals, people, dead logs, loose rocks, tree stumps, all sorts of other stuff to make this scene look even more complete and realistic than it does now. But the last thing we're going to do for this project today is to clean up these tunnel portals a little bit by painting them with some gray acrylic paint. Okay, those tunnel portals look much better now, and we're done. Now, if you've watched my tunnel video, you know how I built my tunnels, and now that you've watched this video, you know how I build my scenery up around my tunnels. And that about wraps it up for this project. My first closing thought for this project is that I want to re-emphasize again that the methods that I use to do my scenery, my rocks, and my tunnels and so forth are not the only methods out there. There are thousands of methods you can use, there are thousands of different products you can use, so I don't want you to feel that this is the only way to do it. I hope that you're inspired by these videos, but in the end, you need to feel free to experiment and find a method that works for you, that you're comfortable with, and that you think looks good on your layout. My final closing note is actually a reading recommendation. I recommend buying and reading this book. It's called Realistic Modeling for Toy Trains, a Hi-Rail Guide, and it was written by Dennis Brennan. You can get it at www.kalmbachbooks.com. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video series. I'm Eric Siegel, and I'll see you next time.